Hello, guys. Good evening. I hope everyone is doing good today. So I'm happy to bring the contents back to you, and I hope this session will be very useful to you. And before we jump to our video, I would like to introduce about our company. We are Data Valley, the fastest growing edtech company of 2025. And if you ask, how can we help you with your career? We provide you with IT solutions, trainings, and placements. So, talking about IT solutions, let's say you have a company and you need people, talented people who can take over the jobs. So, we have, talent management people. So, you'll be able to, get people from them. But let's say you want to have trainings, you want to learn some skills. Yes, we do provide trainings. So talking about trainings, we teach and we train people in multiple domains like data engineering, data analytics, data science, Python developer, software developer, Selenium, Java. We have multiple streams of subjects. So please check out our website at datavalley.ai to know more about us. And talking about the placements, yes, we provide you with 100% placement assistance as well. So you can contact one of our colleague at datavalley.ai, and they'll be more than happy to help you in your career progression. And myself, I'm Franklin. I've almost got 3+ years of experience as a data engineer, and I'm really excited and happy to bring you more knowledgeable content for you to learn. To our video today. So this is the 11th video of this particular Python series, and for this series, we are covering about, and for this video, we are covering on our previously started strings. So talking about strings, we have learned quite a lot, right, isn't it? Because see, from the way we have started from Python interview series 1, we learned about Python, some common questions, then we jumped to list, and now we are here for strings. So we have learned quite a brief, and thank you all for the amazing support. And this is the fifth part of the strings. So this is the 11th video overall, and it's the fifth part of our strings data type. Okay. And continuing on our strings, we are covering on the methods, isn't it? So earlier we learned about a lot of methods like lower, upper, strip, split. So we covered quite a large number of videos. And now in continuous to that, we are learning few more methods. So those methods in short are istitle method, zfill method, center method, ljust, and rjust. So these are the 5 methods we'll be learning today. So the first question is, explain istitle method. So istitle method is a built-in string method that is used to determine if a string follows the conventions of a title case. So what you're going to do is you're going to use this inbuilt method called isTitle method. And what this isTitle method does is that you will be able to find if a string follows the conventions of a title case. Let me give you an idea about what is a title case. So if you see here, I've got a sentence called Frank is your tutor today. And if you pay attention, you can see that all my first letter of each word is capitalized, isn't it? So for Frank, F is capitalized. For is, I is capitalized. For your, Y is capitalized. For tutor, T is capitalized. And for today, T is capitalized. So that is a title case. So how is it different to a non-title case? So if you see the next sentence, I've got Frank, I've got F to be capital and K to be capital. Then is, I is capital, S is capital. In your, R is capital and rest everything is of lowercase. In tutor, U and R are capital but rest of the letters are smaller case. And in today, TOD is of uppercase and AY is lowercase. So I hope you can see the difference in pattern here. For the first one, you have got all first letters to be capital, and the rest everything becomes lowercase. So basically that is how you write your titles, right? For example, your record notebooks, your class works note. So if you notice, that is how we have written this, right? So hence this is a title case, but in this one it is all mixed case, and it doesn't follow any pattern of title case. Now let's see in detail about the title case. A string can be considered a title case if it contains at least one. So let's say you have a string, you at least need to have one single character that is a cased character in our string. So if your string, okay, it doesn't have any then it is not considered to be a word at all, right? If it is an empty string, you don't have any word. So if you don't have a word, how can you even say that there is something to be compared again? So the first condition for a title cased, or to check if a string is title cased, you need to have at least one cased character. And the second criteria is every word in the string starts with an uppercase letter. So as we have seen in earlier, Frank is a tutor today. So in the first sentence for the title cased, you would have noticed that all my first letters are in uppercase. Uppercase, 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 and T is uppercase, and then this T is uppercase. So that is how you have your title case. So make sure that every first letter of your word or a string is an uppercase letter. And then all other letters within each word are lowercase. So just leaving out the first letter, which is in uppercase, all the other letters must be of a lowercase. Okay, it's not like having a mixed case like an uppercase and lowercase, again a lowercase and then uppercase. Formula is very simple. The first letter should be uppercase and all the other letters should be in smaller case. Talking about non-alphabetic characters, the functionality differs. And what are the non-alphabetical characters? It can be a space, it can be a number, it can be a symbol, it can be a sign like plus and minus. So these are a non-alphabetical character. And when you have the non-alphabetical characters and when you try to use the istitle method, all these non-alphabetical characters are ignored. Okay? The reason being they are considered as an delimiter, or you can call it as separator. So these numbers, spaces, symbols all will be considered as an separator for each of your word. And when we use this as a separator, see for example, their case is not checked. And so what do I mean by that? It means that they when the separators are acting as a separators for each of the word, and after that the case is not checked. Okay, what do I mean by case? So it refers to the alphabets, small letter A to Z, or uppercase A to Z, but it refers to the alphabet. And now let's talk about the syntax. The syntax goes like string.istitle method. So the first the first name here, string, what does it represent? It represents the string with which you would like to compare for the istitle method. Okay, and this is a string that you call, and then you have a dot notation, and after the dot notation you call in your method, which is title method. So all are lowercase, if you know. So, and also this syntax doesn't carry any of the parameters. So is title method doesn't carry any parameter. You just call the method straight away. What is the return value? True if the string is title cased according to the rules described above. So we earlier saw about what makes a string title case, right? So as long as those conditions are met, then it means that title case is attained. And if title case is present, then you will be returned with and. For any other case, okay, for any other scenario where the title case is mismatching, then you would be returned with a false. Okay, so you will be getting a boolean character as an output, which is true or a false. Now let's talk about the example. I've gotten here a perfectly title cased. Okay, how am I telling it's a perfectly title cased string? So if you notice this string, T is capital, I is capital, A is capital, title cased T is capital, and string S is capital. Rest of the letters after the uppercase, the first uppercase, everything is of an lowercase letter, right? So after string, everything is lowercase. Now you might be wondering, it's a single letter. Is it necessary that I should write it in uppercase, or is it okay if I write it in an upper or my lowercase? The point here is whenever there is a separator, okay, or in simple terms, let's say you have used space here. So whenever there is a non-alphabetical character, those will be considered as an separator or a delimiter. So once after this delimiter, the next word or a letter, it must always start in a capital letter. And if it is just a single letter, then it should be always in capital letter. Okay, so no exceptions that it's just a single letter and I can write it in lowercase. It should be in capital letter. Now let's run this to check, is it actually of a perfectly title cased. And if you have seen, we are returned with the value true. So true signifies that this is an title case. And here is one key thing I would like to address here. So if you check the syntax, how have I called it? So I'm passing it a variable called title res. Okay. And for title res, I'm calling this string. So I want to check this string, right? So I'm calling text1 dot notation, and then I've got isTitle method. All right. So isTitle method is called upon the text1, and now I've got an boolean character which is true because our string is perfectly titled. And then what would happen for a single letter? So I've got a text1 is equal to a, and then title res1 is equal to text1 dot is title method, and I'm printing it. So the behavior for a one letter word is as long as it is capital, then it is fine, and I've got true. But what if I write a single letter, but that is often lowercase? In that case, I'll be returned with false. So as I said earlier, even if it is a one letter word, that particular character must be of an uppercase letter. It doesn't support lowercase. So what is the behavior for numerics if I write 1? So it'll still return false. What if I write 1a? Then it should be true because 1 is considered to be a separator, and after the separator I've gotten capital A. A is my first letter of the word, and therefore will be considered as an title case format. And next one, a string where not all words start with the uppercase. So if you see here, this is not title case is my string, and not, so if you see here, all the first letters of the word are not capitalized or in uppercase. So what would happen now? You'll be returned with, and why is that? Because this is all lower, it is not title case, and because the title case rule has been broken, you'll be returned with simple as that. And so our next one, a string with mixed case within words. So I've got a text, I've got the text tree, and what it says is this is not title case. Why is it not title case? Because if you notice here, this T is capital, is I is capital, not title cased, N is capital. One thing here is I've got, so if I mention this separately, this is an proper title case, right? All the first letter is capitalized and the rest is in lowercase. But for this one, if I remove the space, it becomes a single word. And one, and when the thing is of a single word, it doesn't matter. When it is separate, make sure that the first letter of a next word becomes. Now let's see what will happen if proper space is not signified, or what happens when a large or a bigger word get together. And now this would return me. Why is that? Because there is no space here, and this is considered as an one single word. But what if I put a space here? So after not, I'm putting a space, and then I'm making it like a proper title case string. Now when I call this, you can see that it gives me a value true. So that is how you check your title case and a non-title case string. The next method is the string with numbers and symbols. So I've got a string here called text4, and the text4 has a string called Python 3.10 is great. So something interesting here. 3.10 is, so I haven't got any space here. Now let's see how this would work. So as you remember, any non-alphabetical character would be considered as an separator. And now if I just run this, you can see that it has given me true. How come? Why is that? Shouldn't it be false? If someone has thought it should be false, then you are wrong. Because, see, the 3.110 is a numeric value, and therefore this is considered as a non-alphabetical character, and therefore it is a delimiter, right? It acts as a separator or whatever. So this, the presence of 3.10 doesn't matter even if I remove it. Okay. And now when I place it here, I've got no space as well, but does it matter? No. The first letter or a word that gets repeated with another number or a name or something like that, make sure that the particular number is of in capitalized format. The next one, I've got an empty string. So for an empty string, what do you have even to compare with? You don't have anything to compare with, right? So you have an empty string and you're just checking if it is a title case. But because there is no string, there is no option for you to perform any comparison. So in that case, this would return false. The next example, a string with only uppercase letters. So I've got a string that says all caps. So it's not just the message being conveyed, but the sentence itself isn't that way, right? All capital. Is this title case? You all would have known it by now. The answer is simple. It is not in a title case format. And what is a title case format? The first letter is always capital, and any words that follow the uh, particular uppercase letter, then rest must be of an lowercase, and therefore it forms an title case. And now to this, the answer is pretty much straightforward. You'll be getting false. So that is how you use is title method within your string. And next method is zfill method. So what is a zfill method? So zfill method is again an inbuilt string method. Okay, and this is used to add, okay, zeros until a particular string reaches. And so what happens is that, let's say you have a string, the current length is 5, and you want to increase it to 10. And now when you use the zfill method, all your leading characters, okay, so all your leading characters will get 0 in front of it. So if your current length is 5 and you want a length of 10, then you would be getting 5 zeros at the front of the number, which means that uh, your length is currently 10. So you have 5, you wanted it to be 10, and now when you use the zfill method, the size of the string gets increased. Okay, is it only zeros? Zfill method just gets only zeros to your leading part of your string. Now let's talk about the syntax. What is the syntax? The syntax is string dot zfill. And so string, you all would have been aware about it now. So string is whatever the string you want to play around with, whatever the string that you want to work it out with zfill method. So you're calling that particular string, and then after the string with the dot notation, you're using zfill method. Okay, you're using dot notation with the zfill method. And then after that, you're also having a parameter called, so what is this parameter called? Width. So this width represents an integer. Okay, so why do we need an integer value, and what does it actually represent? The thing is very simple. Okay, so when you represent, okay, an account, how do you express it? To express a count, you always represent it in integer format. Let me give it in a nutshell example. Let's say you have a banana, you cut it down. Okay, you had one banana and you're cutting it down, and when I ask you, okay, how many pieces are left over, would you say 1.5? Would you say 1.2, something like that? Or would you just give me a straightforward answer saying that, Frank, there is two pieces of banana? So when asking about the count, it is always in an integer data type, right? So it's an whole number. So you're not giving any fractionized format, or you're not trying to being a count is always of a whole number, right? So let's say you're going in a bus, you want to purchase a ticket, and when the conductor asks you how many tickets, you just say 3, 4, 5, whatever you're going as a team. You wouldn't mention that, oh, I have 1.83, oh, I have 2.6. That is not very practical, isn't it? That's very impractical and it makes no sense. Similarly, for your zfill method, you provide the width parameter with an integer data type and not any other type, including decimal. Okay, decimal, string, whatever it is. It is a width, and you are representing it in a integer form. And this width parameter, what it does is that shows that what is the desired length you are looking for. Okay, so let's say the current string is 5, and now we want it to be size 10. So what happens is that 5 zeros get added to the leading start of your, okay, let's say you have 10, let's say you want 10 but I have 5. So what I do, I just add 5 certain value, and in zfill method, what is that particular value? The particular value is, okay, this gets added to your, therefore attaining the desired length. Now let's talk about the functionality. If the width is provided is greater than the current length of the string, zfill adds 0 characters to the beginning of the string until its total length equals. So what are we saying here is, for a string, okay, I have a current string with certain size 10, and I'm looking for a width of, so there is a difference of 12, right, between what is my expectation and what is right now, or whatever is there. And then I'm saying an extended length of 12. So I need to add two more characters to the original string. So what I do is, instead of any character or any kind of a non-alphabetical character, we can increase the length of a particular string zeros. Okay, so be sure about that, because this is kind of, I would say, important, or generally it is good. And then handling signs. If the string starts with a sign character, plus or minus, the zeros are added after the sign character, not before it. So what do I mean by that? So I have, let's say, plus 400. Okay, so this is my original value. And now what I want to do is, if what is the count of this then? Length is 4, right? Because plus 4 0 0, so this is the length, and the length I want is, so what happens is that, to increase it, you pad it with zeros. So what method are we using? Zfill. Therefore this string would change to be 0 0 0 4. So this is how the length of a particular string can be. And one key thing here is that your zeros are not added before. Okay, what is the general rule? The general rule is that, for example, I have ABC, L is equal to, and now if I want to increase it, and now when I increase it, okay, I want to increase it till 5. So what happens? A, B, C. And now what is the length of this? It is having the length of, so right, because that is my desired width I represented. So make sure that whenever you call the zfill method, the zeros get added to your leading part of your, and if you have any kind of symbols, then your zeros get added next to your symbol. So if you see here, the symbol here is off in the same position, right? This is my original string, but that position wasn't ignored, and after this sign all my values get fixed there. So it just padded with the zeros to your left hand side. What will happen if the width of the particular string is less? So you have a length of your string to be 10, and now you are keen to reduce, or if you're just passing a value that is lesser than the original bag or size, then it would be inefficient, right? So it is an inefficient process. And why do I say that? Because you have other methods or other different kinds of techniques to cut down this. So you can just get the substring out of your string using the slicing and indexing operation. To increase the size, you use zfill, but when you want to reduce it, zfill doesn't help you. So if you have original string as 10 and your desired length is 5, no changes would take place. Okay, your original string just remains as it is. Returns new string. The setfill method does not modify the original string, it returns a new string with the applied padding. You know what I'm talking about, right? Because you know that strings are immutable. So what would happen with an immutable object? You cannot modify it. So you cannot expect to use the setfill method and modify your original string. Okay, but instead, whatever the changes that you're looking for, okay, you're using setfill method, you're providing the desired length, and your new string will be created as the size you prefer. Okay, and you'll be returned with a new string. So your original string remains the same, and you'll be getting a new string already has the changes taken place in it. So you're not modifying a string after creating, but you are already having the changes, and after the changes you are creating a new string that can never be changed, because strings are immutable. Now let's see this in a practical implement. So I've gotten here a string called as s1 is equal to 42, right? It's a number. And what I want to do is, I'm passing this to a new variable called padded s1. I'm calling my text, okay, the original text string, which is s1 is equal to 42. So s1 dot setfill method, and within this setfill method I put in the value 5. And now if you notice, I've got 00042, and these zeros just came now, because what does my original string have? 42. And now I want the length to be 5, therefore 3 zeros have been added and 42 is at the right side. Okay, string with a leading sign. Okay, what would happen if I have a string that has sign? I've already explained this to you. If you use this method, and now what happens is that your zeros get formed next to your, not before it. So if you are thinking that I want 7, right? So if you are expecting that your string would be like, in this case it is wrong. Okay, So what would happen? Your actual string would be, you have attained a size of 7, and what you have is, so this is how you use zfill method to pad zeros to your leading side. All right. And next, width less than string length. So I already said you, right, if you want a size that is lesser than your original string size, then there are no change and your original string will be returned as it. Let's try that. And now I've got hello here. Okay, hello with all lowercase, right? Hello. The width that I asked for was, so when I put 3, there's no modification. So if you expected your string would become hell, then you are wrong. Okay? Because clipping cannot be done by your zfill. Its purpose is only to fill it with zeros. Okay? So zfill in other word is an zero fill method. Next, I have got explain center method of Python. The center method in strings is used to center align a string within a specified width, padding the remaining space with designated character. So if you notice the syntax there, I've got the string dot center, and in bracket I've got width comma fill care. So in in for example in zfill, what did you do? You padded zeros to your left side. This center method is a bit different. What it does is that center aligns the text. Okay, it center aligns the original string that you had, and the rest in your right side or your left side. Okay, it just pads with an space. Now let's talk about the parameter. After the center method, it takes in two parameter called the width and fill can. So width is, this is a required integer argument that specifies the total desired length of the new string after centering. Okay, so when you are using the center method, this will specify what is the length you are looking for. Okay, and next you have the fill care parameter. So as the name suggests, it is filling with some. So and this parameter, okay, that is fill care, is an optional parameter. So you can use it and you can be without using it as well. And if it is provided, what should you follow is that you just provide, a single character. Okay, it cannot take anything more than a single character. So if you're passing an asterisk, it should be just one. If you want to pass, a hyphen, it should be just one. You cannot two, or whatever, anything above one, you cannot do it. You just have to make sure that you pass in a single character. And what would happen if you're not filling your fill character? Okay, yes, we do know that fill care is an optional parameter. What if I'm not specifying any character? So the default behavior is that white spaces get added. Okay, so the default behavior is to center your original string, but with padding by spaces or any symbols of your. Let's talk about the functionality. The first thing is, this method determines how many padding characters are needed on each side to make the original string fit within the. So let's say your original string was, okay, and now to that original string you want to make the size to be 10. So now what happens is that whatever the width that you have provided, this particular width will be splitted into two parts. And what do I mean by two parts? Left and the right side. So the single value is divided into both your right and your left side, and then all your main string, okay, it just stays in the center. So it is perfectly aligned with all your spaces or whatever the symbol that you are using, or all these things, or the case character that you are using. So everything will become as same and as it. Okay, now the original string is placed in the center. So once your padding is calculated, okay, for 6 you have, it's divided by 2 because left and right side, 3 spaces at each of the right and your left side. And now it centers your string. The original string is placed in the middle of your new string. I think it is a bit quite straightforward because spaces go to this side and all the necessary string comes to your applies padding. So now once it has already calculated, now it applies the padding. The fill care or spaces by default is added evenly to both the left and right sides of the original string to reach the specified width. And now what would happen? You provide with an odd value for your padding. If you provide 6, what happens? Three characters to your right, three characters to your left. When you provide an odd number of value, plus one gets added. So for example, let's say I'm giving the value as 11. What would happen is 11 is split into 2, and therefore you'll be having 5.5. But is it possible to pad your strings with an, a float value? It's quite impossible, right? You need a whole number to create as much as padding to your right and your left side. So what happens is that plus 1 gets added. So if I give 11, plus 1 gets added, it becomes 12, and 12 is split by 2, which should be 6 for each of the. A new string is returned containing the centered original string with the applied padding. The original string remains unchanged. So whatever the string that you initially had, it remains unchanged. Why is that? Because strings are immutable. Only you are creating a new string with the changes already taken place, and after the change your string gets formed in first place. Okay, and therefore your original string remains unchanged, whereas your new string is already padded and it is ready for your further processing or use. Let's talk about the edge case. If the width provided is less than or equal to the length of the original string, the center method returns the original string without any changes or padding. So let's say you are providing a value, okay, and it is either less or equal to the length of the original string. What happens is that your center method returns the original string without any changes or padding. Okay, so no changes will be taken place if you provide a lesser value. Now I've got a string here. My string is equal to, let me run this, and now center with default space padding. This is 6, right? The length of this string is 6. Now what I'm doing is I'm calling that particular string and then I'm using the center method. What has happened here? This 20 will be divided into, and now 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, right? It's only 7. Why is that? It should be 20 divided by 2 is 10, right? So you should have 10, not 7. Why is that? The answer is pretty much straightforward. So you want this desired length for your whole of your string. You already have 6. When you subtract 6 from 20, it is 14, right? And this 14 is divided into 2. So what will happen is you will get 7 paddings to your left and 7 paddings to your right side, and the default behavior is space, right? So you'll be having 7 spaces to your left and 7 spaces to your right, making sure that this particular length is of length 20. Your original string was 6, but now you have made it to be 20. Center with a specific character padding. Now again it is Python, and now I'm saying, okay, I want my length of the string to be. So what happens first? Your 12 is here. 12 minus 6 from here. 6 divided by 2. 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3. Therefore, 3 paddings to your right and your left side. But now, as you can see here, I've got the fill character, right? That's an asterisk. So when I mention an asterisk to the parameter fill char, okay, it is basically telling that fill the particular character. So when it is asterisk, it gets separated equally to your right and your left side, making sure that the length of this particular string is 12, less than string length. So now in this string I am providing a value that is lesser than my original string. So what is the length of my original string? It is 6. Now I say 4. Now let's see what happened. No changes were taken place. So I've just written Python as it is in my original string. Now let's learn about the ljust method and rjust. So ljust method is where you justify your string. Okay. But one catch here is that you will be justifying it in your left side. Okay. So ljust, as the name suggests, it is an left justification method. This is a string method used to left justify a string. It returns a new string that is left aligned with the specified width. And if the original string's length is less than width, the remaining space on the right is filled with the character provided. What is going to happen? So as I said earlier, and as the name suggests, ljust is going to left justify. That is simple, pretty much straightforward. And how does your left just happens? Your string gets to move to your left side, and then whatever the value it is, okay, whatever the width is, so you have to equalize it, isn't it? So to increase the size of your string, what happens is that once your string gets moved to your left, the rest is filled with the space or the character. Let's talk about the parameter. The ljust method takes in two parameters, okay? One is width, the next one is character. This required integer argument specifies the total length of the resulting string. If the original string's length is greater than or equal to width, the original string is written unchanged. So what are we saying here? You're providing a width, and this width should be of an integer data type. So when you provide the length or when you provide the integer, if it is lesser than your original string, then that is fine because you will be written as with your original string or original size of your string. But when it is greater, your contents move to the left. Okay, the priority is left. So your string moves to your left side and the right side is filled with the spaces or whatever the character that we provide. And this character parameter, okay, this is an optional parameter. This optional string argument specifies the character to use for padding. It must be a single character. If omitted, the default padding character is space. So whenever you specify this character, okay, it is optional, but at least when you do it, make sure that you pass in a single character, okay, which will be used for the padding to your right side. So two key things here: your string moves to your left, and whatever the length that you are looking to attain, okay, you will be able to get it in your right side or the trailing end. Let's see how it works. The method calculates the difference between the width and the length of your original string. So for example, you have a string of size of 6 and your desired length is 10. So now the difference is calculated. 10 minus 6, if the difference is positive, meaning which is greater than the string's length, the original string is placed at the whatever the width is, okay? The width is greater than the string's length. So my original string's length is 6 and you are desiring for the width of, in that case, it is fine, okay? How it is fine? All your original string gets moved to your left side and the rest is filled with the white spaces at the right side or the trailing end. The calculated number of characters are then appended to the right side of the string to the specified to reach the specified width. So for example, Python, and then now you're providing it with the value 10. Okay, that is your desired value. So Python gets moved to your left. Okay, the left justified one, and the rest of the four spaces or the rest of the four how can I put it? The four length will be filled with an white space or any of the character that you provide. The original strings is greater than or equal to width, no padding occurs, and the original string is returned as is. If you are trying to, you provide a lesser size, then you cannot, expect any changes in your new string. Okay, you'll be just returned as it is, no changes taken place. So I've got an original string here, and now what I'll do is I'll try to left justify it. And how am I doing it? I'm passing my original string, this original string, and I'm using ljust method, and I'm providing the size to be 10. But what is the original size of this? This is Python with 6. The length here is 6, right? And now 10 minus 6 would take place, which would be 4. And this 4 will be splitted to the right and your left side, which will make your string to be the size of 10. And if you notice here, I don't have any fill character. So how have we got it? So we have got Python and then the 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So all these 4 has moved to your right side, right? So you have justified to your left side. So your original string has passed there, and the rest is just an white space. Left justify within specific character padding. So earlier we saw that we just, by use the default functionality, which is in white space. Now what I'm telling is, no, I want it to have this particular character. So this character should come to my padding spaces. Now if you notice, I've got the same Python, okay, as above. Default is white space, but in here I've got an asterisk. The justification has taken place, and also the padding has been done with the fill character. When the width is less than or equal to the string length, then as I said earlier, no changes will be done. So your original string is retained as it is. Now let's see what is rjust method and how is it different to your ljust. As the name suggests, rjust is right justification. Okay, this is a built-in string method where you will be able to attain a specific width. Okay, so you provide the width and you will be able to achieve the specified width. And what happens is that it returns a new string that is padded on the left with a specified fill character. So in the left justification, we saw that your string moves to the left and all your padding is filled with the white space. So in right justification, what happens is that all your string, okay, to which you want to increase the length, that goes to your right side, and the padding is done in your left side, which is quite opposite to what we saw in our ljust method. Talking about the syntax, you have a string, okay, so this string is where you want to perform the action and to which string you would like to perform the action, then dot notation, and then the rjust method. So this rjust method has two parameters, the width and the fill character. So as I said earlier, the width, okay, an integer specifying the total desired length of the resulting string. If the original string is already greater than or equal to width, no padding occurs and the original string is written. So when you provide a width, okay, your original string will not be changed, but a new string is created with that particular length you are looking for. And if you provide a value that is lesser than the original string's length value, then it is of no use as well. So the reason is your character just gets, sorry, your the string gets as it is, okay, no changes applicable. Now let's talk about the fill character parameter. The fill character is an optional parameter, okay, and this optional parameter takes a single character for padding, okay. So what do I mean by a single character? So you cannot specify anything more than one character. So if you're specifying a space, if you're specifying an asterisk, exclamation, all should be a single character, but nothing more than that. And if you omit it, okay, if you don't provide any character, then by default what happens is that the padding is taken place with the spaces, okay. Let's talk about the behavior. The rjust method calculates the number of characters needed for padding by subtracting the length of the original string from the specified. So first what happens is that, what is the total number of characters needed for padding? So that particular number is calculated. How is that calculated? By subtracting the length of the original string from the specified width. If my original string is of 10 and my desired length is, so it is 20 minus 10, and now the number is calculated, which is 10. So I need 10 number of characters for padding, and then it prepends the fill char to the left of the original string, repeating it the calculated number of times. So what is my desired length? 20. And now what is the character I want? Number of character. So what happens is that those number of fill characters are added to my left. Okay, the string moves to the right side, and the rest of the added length is given an asterisk or whatever the character that I'm providing to my leading end of my. The method returns this newly created right justified string. The original string remains unchanged. So in the previous one we had left justified, therefore your string moves to your left side. But in right justified, your string moves to your right side and the padding takes place in your left side. Let's see some examples. So I've got here text is equal to, let me create it, and now I've got a string, okay. So this string says hello, and now I want it to increase to 10. What is the length of this string? The length of this string is 5, right? Let's verify it. Okay. The length is 5. And now I want to increase it to 10. So what would happen? I'm not providing any characters as well in the right side in my fill character parameter. So now my original string has moved to the right side, and all these are just white spaces. So I've got 5 white spaces and the string has moved to the right side. Okay, this is what is our or just about. And now or justify with a specific character. So we saw the default behavior, right? The default behavior is just adding white spaces. Now let's try to work it out with a specific character. I've got an asterisk, same thing, okay, this is same as well, but just I'm adding the fill character here, comma. Now when I run this, you can see that same default behavior white space here, and this is with the asterisk. So I've got 5 asterisk hello in here. Now when width is less than or equal to string length, so I've got 6 python, so length of the python is 6. Now I'm saying I want it to become 4. So when I do it, it doesn't matter, right? Because your original string will be returned anyways, so no modification has taken place. So these are the methods that we learned today. I hope you all enjoyed this session. So we learned about rjust, we learned about ljust, we learnt about center and istitle. So istitle method is to verify if your string is title cased. Zfill method is to increase the size of your string by adding zeros. Okay, zfill stands for zero fill. So you're adding zeros to your leading side and therefore increasing your string size. Then you have got center method, in which you'll be increasing the size of your string by bringing your string to the center and adding the excess number of uh, characters with either the characters or symbols that you provide, or by default it uses the white spaces. And then you got ljust and rjust. With ljust you add your you justify your string to the left side, and to increase the size of the particular string you add a character or a white space by default to your right side. Okay, you pad it to your right side. And quite opposite to ljust, we have rjust. Your string is right justified, it moves to your right side. Okay, and then to increase the size of your string, the left side of your string gets padded with the white space or any of the characters that you have provided. All right, so these are the 5 things that we learned today, and I hope this session was very useful. And feel free to like the video and comment if you have any questions, and share it with your fellow Python developers or the people who are preparing for the interviews. This will be very useful to them. Okay, before we finish, who are we? We are Data Valley. We are the fastest growing edtech company of 2020, and we offer you with IT solutions, trainings, and placement. And we have our headquarters in Hyderabad. So we have 4 centers in Hyderabad. Also, we have our headquarters in US and United Kingdom as well. So feel free to check out if you're somewhere nearby. And if you have any inquiries, please ring the numbers attached in this screen, so that our colleagues will be able to help and guide you to get you better in your career. All right, that is all for today. Thank you for joining. Until then, this is Franklin signing off. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye. Take care.